up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel here. Video I'm going to do today on here is another tutorial video on the initial setup. Now in my starter pack releases on there, I have the images already created that do all these steps on here, but people were wondering, or they wanted to know how the initial image was created, what the different steps are, and putting everything on there, or they just wanted to do it themselves on here to know how. So that's what I'm going to do on here. Like I say, if you've already downloaded and are using the image and it's fine, then you don't have to do this. But for those that just wanted or are curious on how to set that up, you know, hopefully you watched the intro video there, which shows you where all the wires go on here, so you have it set up on here, so you do have picture on here on your screen right now, and you've downloaded the latest retropie image on there from the download section, and you wrote it into your SD card and it's plugged in. Once you boot up, this is the initial screen you're gonna get. So we're gonna go through the step-by-step procedure on here. First thing we're gonna do, we're not gonna worry about the joysticks for now. We're going to input our keyboard. This way we could navigate much easier on here and input what we need. So with your keyboard plugged in into one of the USB ports, you're going to hold down a key on here so it recognizes the keyboard. And then you'll get this configuration. And then now we're going to input our arrows here for up, down, left, right, your start button, select, and then A, B, X, Y. If you want these other buttons, you could input them, or you could just skip by holding a button down, especially for like the analogs, because you're not going to have that on the keyboard. So just hold any key down to skip. Okay, and then when you get to the bottom here, hotkey, pick a key that you have configured on here as your hotkey, and just remember which one it is, and then press your A button, whichever one you have configured as your A. Okay, and that'll take us here to the initial setup. We don't have anything on here at the moment. The first thing we're going to need to do, because we're going to do some stuff over the internet to bring stuff in here, let's set up our Wi-Fi. So let's go into the retropie menu, and then go down here to Wi-Fi, all the way on the bottom in the options screen. Okay, and that'll take us over here. It's going to tell you that you don't have your country currently set. Do you want to do that? So we're going to answer yes. Click left, yes, hit enter. Okay, the area where your country thing is right here, localization options. Okay, which is number 4. We're going to hit enter, and then all the way on the bottom here, change Wi-Fi country. Click enter, and then from whichever country you're in, select it. I'm from the good old USA. All the way on the bottom here. Usually they have it on top. Alright, there we go. Change it to US. Okay. And then we also want to go to interface options here. This is where we could enable our SSH. We're going to answer yes here. Okay. Alright, and that's it. That's actually, you know, you could like overclock your stuff here, advanced option, change your other stuff, memory split on here, but I'm not going to do any of that on here. Like I said, there's all kinds of different options here, your boot options and stuff like that. But for now, that's all we need. We're going to click finish, and then we're going to go here, the first one, connect to Wi-Fi network, hit enter, and then select your internet, and then input your password, click OK, and hopefully it connects. You could always connect yours to the Ethernet wire if you like. Alright, so I'm connected now. It's going to show my IP on top there. You know, if we need that, if we're going to go into, like, let's say terminal or use PuTTY on there, remember your IP. And then we could exit on here. Now take us back to the main menu here. Okay, so we have our Wi-Fi set up on here. Everything's good to go. The first thing I like to do on here, initial setup, I like to install all my emulators and to install the AttractMode. And the area we're going to do that, we're going to go here to retropie setup. Oops. Click A. Okay, and it'll take us here. Okay, retropie setup. We're going to click OK on this, and then here we are. First thing I like to do once you have this, update your retropie setup script, just in case it's not updated. Right now mine's pretty recent, it's 4.5.1. Let's update it just in case. Click yes. What that does, sometimes there might be like new apps or new programs on there, and if we have the updated script, we're going to have it. Otherwise, it might not show up there for you, and you won't be able to install. So once we do that on there, click OK. See, now I'm on 4.5.7, so that's the latest on here. Okay, and then let's go install our stuff here. We're going to go to the third one down here, manage packages. Okay, and then manage optional packages, the third one down. Okay, we're going to need advanced main, you know, if we're installing the trackball games, centipede games on there, spinners on there, or games like Gain Ground, you know, on the right page, that uses the advanced main. I like this one the best. There's 3 different ones on here. I find like this one, the resolution on there, it like stretches out the image, but this one's the best one. So click enter. Now you could install from binary or source. I like to install from source, although it does take longer. I just find anything that you install, especially like the AttractMode later on, I do recommend doing it from source instead of binary, because sometimes you won't get the latest one or it'll be missing something. So install from source would be your best option, but like I said, it is going to take a while for the install process. Alright, so let's click install. Alright, so once that's installed on here, let's click back. And let me see if there's any other ones on here that we're going to be using. If we were doing console, there is a couple ones here that I would install. The other one, we have MAME 2000-2003 on here. There's MAME 2010. I rarely use this one, but I think there's like a game or two. B-Rap Boys on the Rampage uses it. So let's install this one. Why not? And again, do the install from source. Alright, so once that's done, we got that installed. Let's back up. And that's it. That's actually it. Nothing else on here. There's Scraper on here if you want the video. But, I'm not going to install that. I use my own. Then we're going to go to experimental packages. Okay. Down here, what you're going to install, again, scroll down. It's towards the bottom. And that's the AttractMode on here. And this one, like I said, I highly recommend make sure you install from source. Sometimes when I installed it from binary, it did give me some issues. Alright, once that's done on here installing, we're going to back out. And that's it. That's all the stuff we're going to install from our optional and experimental packages. Okay, so we're gonna click back, and then back to the main screen on here. What you could also do, once you have everything installed on here, if you want to update everything on here, you would go to update here, and this will update all your installed packages. Okay, and to the latest versions and everything. So that's how you update everything. Now the update does take a while on here if you are gonna update all your installed drivers on here. You may want to I don't know, grab a coffee or something, and then come back in a few minutes. Alright, now if you did do the update on here like I did just now, I'm going to click OK. When we reboot on here, if we do the update, I don't know why they do this, but it's annoying on here. Basically it's going to force you to log in with the username Pi, password Raspberry. Doesn't do this on the initial image, but every time you run the update on there, it's gonna do that. So I'm gonna show you now when you reboot, and I'm gonna show you how to get rid of that. It's simple, but just annoying that they do put this in. So you can see, and you see on the bottom here, it's forcing me to log in. So on the login, you know, username is going to be Pi, P-I, enter, and password's Raspberry. And it doesn't even show it on there, which is even. Alright, so we log in with Pi and Raspberry. Now it takes us, you know, but having to do that every time you you boot it up is annoying. So just what you do is click F4, all right, which will get you here to the Linux command line, and we're gonna type sudo. All right, anytime you talk to this thing, you gotta put sudo command space, and then type in raspi-config. Alright, so sudo space raspi-config, and then hit enter, and this is going to bring us to that Raspberry configuration. Okay, and the way we get rid of that boot, go to number 3 for boot options, then the first one, desktop, and then right here you're going to pick B2, where it has automatically logged in as Pi user. Okay, and then once you have it highlighted, click OK, and that's it. That's done. So when we click finish, which you want to reboot now, yes, when we do the reboot, it should get rid of that login. I don't know why it's there, but that's how you get rid of it, you know. And now anytime we boot, we don't have to do that that login again. Alright, so that takes care of that. So we have everything installed, everything's updated, we're good to go. So let's get started here adding some of these Arcade1up stuff on here. If you want the Arcade1up emulation station theme on here, because right now we're using the Carbon, you press start under your UI settings. As you can see, our theme set on here that comes with this is the Carbon build. Okay, to get the Arcade1up on here, we're going to go to retropie, and then scroll down here to ES themes. Alright, this is going to boot up the emulation station themes on here. There's a whole bunch of them on here. Okay, if you're going to be using your image in emulation, you don't want to use AttractMode. You could go through a lot of these. There's a couple. There's actually 2 different Arcade1ups on here, but the one that I use is the one from this guy, RetroHursty69. So find him on here. He's got a whole bunch. I mean, this guy. Here it is, Arcade1up. Okay. So we're gonna click OK, Then it's going to install it on here. Alright, so it's installed. It'll stay installed on there. Like I said, he's got a whole bunch of different ones. He's got some Capcom ones on here. But yeah, let's back out on here. Click cancel. Alright, and we're back to our emulation here. So now when we hit start, we go to our UI settings and then go down to theme set. We could change carbon, and we have now Arcade1up. So when we pick that, we go back. And we'll have our Arcade1up theme here for emulation station. Alright, so that's set on here. It's a really cool theme on here. I mean, this is what I initially used before moving to AttractMode, but just so much stuff we could do in AttractMode to get right into the game. I like that much better. So that's set. The next thing, we want to get the Arcade1up splash screen. You know, when we boot it up, have that theme. I have the video file. It's in the description part. You could download it. It's an MP4 file. And basically, if you're on Windows, you're going to have to download WinSCP. And on the Mac users use Cyberduck. Alright, so they both do the same thing. Basically, what this we'll be able to bring the video file onto here, and it's also a way that you bring your ROMs and images and stuff on here as well. So load that up. So I'm using the Cyberduck, which is on the Mac, on here, and then basically you're gonna need to input. You got to do it through SSH. Make sure you have that enabled on there. You know, when we did in the beginning. Otherwise, it might not let you do this. So as long as that's enabled, when you pull up the application on there, put retropie in there, all caps, and then your username is going to be Pi and password Raspberry, and then click OK. And then you'll see some folders there. Will have the retropie folder. Click on there, and then you should see ROMs, configs, BIOS, and then there's one folder that's called splash screens. Go into the splash screens, and then just drag over that Arcade1up splash screen that I have in the download section, and then input that. Okay. Once you have that inputted, let's go back here to the Pi. Okay, and then we're going to go to options again, and then go down here to splash screens, all the way in the bottom there, second one down. Alright, and then once we're here, we're going to put the first one on there, which is choose splash screens, and then the second one on there, own. We're going to use our own. Okay, and then right there, our file is located. If you did input it to the splash screen folder, it will be there. And you could use any file. You could use an image if you want on there. If you want to use your own on there, you know, there's different kinds, different splash screens you could input on there. This is the one that I use. All right, so I'm going to select it. Okay. Then we hit cancel. So now when we reboot on here, I'm going to restart the system just to test it out. That Arcade1up splash screen should come up on here. Now we're still going to have the logo here and like the text. We're going to get rid of that next. On here you see all this text and stuff, so that doesn't appear. And there's the Arcade1up splash screen. Alright. The way we get rid of the text on that, we got to go back to click F4 on your keyboard. We got to go back to the Linux command line on here. Okay, it should look like that: sudo space nano space /boot /cmd line.txt. Then hit enter. Once you're there, you'll see this text up on top. We're gonna with the keyboard here with your directions, scroll a little bit to the right until you get here where it says console equals TTY1. We're going to change the number 1 on here, delete, and put a number 3. Okay, and then scroll all the way to the end. Okay, which is right here. Okay, after enable 0, press space, and then you're going to type logo dot no logo. Alright, so you're going to type logo dot no logo. Okay, once you have that, press Control X. It's going to ask you to save. You're going to put Y for yes, and then keep the same name, just hit enter. And this thing's saved. Let's test it out here. We're going to go sudo reboot. Okay, if we did it right, this thing's going to boot up. As you can see, there's no logo on top there. There's no text or anything on here. We got rid of all that. And there's our splash screen. Alright, so that's how you get rid of that, and you input your splash screen. Alright, so we're pretty much done here in Emulation Station. Let's head over to AttractMode, and the way we do that, hit F4 to bring you back to the command line here. Okay, and you're just gonna type in attract, ATTRACT. Alright, type in attract, and then hit enter. Alright, this is the AttractMode on here. When you first initially set this up on here, you know, this is the basic setting here. If we go to press our tab button on our displays, you know, for arcade, you know, they got some that come in like basic, cools, filter, you know, there's different kinds on here, but they're pretty, you know, just your, you know, ordinary standard layouts. Now when you're in displays on here, under layouts, just pick something else besides basic. Change it to whatever. Well, I'll pick cools. Just switch the display on there to a different layout, and it's pretty much gonna configure that on there. Once we do that, we could go into the folder there. We'll have a layouts folder. That's all. Because right now in the displays, there's nothing. We don't have our Arcade1up on here yet. So just make that display it on there, and then that'll add in the folder. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring in the Arcade1up layout on here that we're going to use for AttractMode. And the way we do that, we got to go back on the computer there, like I said, either on WinSCP for PC users or Cyberduck. And when you're logged in on there with retropie, you know, Pi username, Raspberry, on the initial screen where you see retropie, like the home screen, you got to back up even more. You got to click on the arrow there, go back until you get to the beginning, okay, and then you're going to go to a separate folder there. You're going to need to enable show hidden files, okay, so you got to click up on top for it to display hidden files, because tracked files are hidden for some reason. So make sure that is clicked first, and then now when we go into the folders there, we should have a attract folder. Okay, we're gonna click in there, and then you'll see a layouts folder. That's where we're gonna bring in the Arcade1up theme, their layout. They call it layouts on AttractMode. It's in the description, the download there. Once you download that, unzip it, you know, and then bring that entire folder, the whole folder there that has A1up, into that layouts folder. Okay, as an added bonus, I also have a 60-in-1 image on there as well, layout. Both of these were done from a guy on the AttractMode website there. I forget what his name was. I think Eric Howler or something like that. He's on YouTube as well. He makes these things. These two themes are pretty nice, man. So he did a great job on this. Yeah, so once we add those on there, we're gonna bring those in, and then I'll meet you guys back on the Raspberry Pi, where we're gonna change the display. I'll show you how to do that. Alright, so now when we add that file into that layouts folder, if we hit tab and we go to our displays under arcade, we change our layout, we should now have both the Arcade1up and the 60-in-1 theme. So I'm going to pick the 1up, click back and back, and there's our theme. Everything's set and good to go on here. Actually, one last thing I forgot, dealing with advanced main. For the advanced main games, let me go back to emulation station. Just hit escape, yes, on here, and then we're back to our Linux command line, and this time type out emulation station. Okay, that'll bring us back to emulation station. I added a ROM in here. I just wanted to show you guys when you run advanced MAME emulator, we'll load up Centipede under advanced MAME. When you try to exit the emulator on here, what happens is when you hit the exit, you're going to get a dialog box on this that's going to say continue or exit. Sometimes it might say load or save before you could exit. To get rid of this box so it just exits automatically, I'm going to show you guys what to do for that. You go to your file manager on here. Okay, now get us here. Then hit the two dots on top again, and then go down here to OPT. Okay, then retropie, configs, and then we want to scroll down here to MAME, advanced MAME. Okay, and then go down here to this one, advanced MAME 1.4 RC, and then click the F4 key for edit. F4. Okay, that's going to ask us here, just put the number 2 and enter. Okay, and this takes us here. There's a whole bunch of text. We're going to need to scroll down a bit on here. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot on here. Scroll all the way until you get to these miscellaneous ones, MISC on here. They're in alphabetical order, so MISC, and you'll see one on here that says MIC quit. Right here, MIC safe quit. I'm sorry, the safe quit one. And right now it's set on yes. What you got to do is change yes and put no. Okay, so MIC underscore safe quit no, and then press Control X, Y for yes, and enter to save it. Okay, so that'll save it, and then we're gonna press F10 on the keyboard to exit out of the screen. All right, so now when we load up the Centipede under the advanced MAME emulator, when we click our exit key to get out of here, that dialog box is not there. That's how you get rid of that on here. Just wanted to show everybody that. And that's it. That's basically when you download the starter horizontal or vertical image, you'll be prompted here. last thing, to change the screen rotation on here, if you're using a different display, if you're doing the vertical as opposed to the horizontal, because by default it's on the horizontal, what you're gonna do is press F4 to bring up the Linux command line again. It's sudo space nano / boot / config.txt. Alright. Once you hit enter, we'll be here to the screen. You want to scroll all the way down till the end. Okay, all the way to the bottom. And that's the last line on here. And then once you're all the way on the bottom there, type in display _ rotate equals 3. Okay, so it's display _ rotate equals 3. Okay, then hit Control X, Y for yes, enter. Okay, and for that to take place, we have to reboot on here. So let's do a sudo reboot. Okay. Once again, this is for to get the vertical screen as opposed to the horizontal. There you go. So if you're doing like Pac-Man, Galaga, or Space Invaders, and you need to change the rotation on here to vertical, that's how that's done. Check out my other tutorials on here if you want to then add in the to make this on and off switch functional and the volume switch functional. I'll leave links in the description for both of those. I would recommend setting up a backup now of this so you don't have to do this whole thing again. If you don't want to do all the steps, like I said, I have the image files for, that's the Arcade1up horizontal and vertical image. Alright, and then just check out the starter packs to bring in the games onto here. Alright, so that does it here. I'll see you guys soon.